So you're thinking about doing an STI swap. Well, hopefully in today's video, I can cover all of your questions, be it price, be it how it drives in comparison to a WRX. Should you do an STI swap just in general? Should you just buy an STI? Hopefully I can answer every single one of your questions in today's video. Let's get straight into it. It is hot as hell. Hold up. I'm gonna start this thing up. For those of you not familiar with the content, not familiar with what the car actually is, started life as just an 06 WRX, completely stock, did the STI swap on it, puts down about 400 horsepower. As far as the drivetrain goes, it is actually from a late model 04 STI paired with 05 STI 5x114 knuckles. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's just an ACT stage 2 clutch, and then obviously just an STI slave. And that's pretty much the entire swap, although I did need to get different front axles from an 05 up STI to compensate for the new knuckles. It is pretty crazy how many different STI swaps you can do. So we can maybe get into that a little bit later. Now I would say the STI swap that I decided to go with is possibly on the more expensive side. I think it is actually the most expensive to swap a 06 or 07 WRX to a full STI drivetrain. And with that, I'm sure everyone wants to know how much it actually is to STI swap. So it cost me about $6,000 for everything that I just went over. And that's actually not including the aftermarket wheels and tires, which you're obviously going to have to do if you end up doing the 5x114 swap like I did. Now, before I get into all the nitty-gritty of the actual drivability of the STI drivetrain in comparison to my old 5-speed WRX drivetrain, let's actually show you what all I got with my full STI drivetrain swap. So obviously, number one, and the biggest reason why you do it, is the STI 6-speed transmission. Now, real quick couple notes about this is it is paired with the Cartboy short shifter. I did replace the shifter bushings, which I do highly recommend. And also, this isn't actually an STI boot. This is my old 5-speed WRX boot that I actually just cut and folded over and made it fit over this. Doesn't fit amazing, but you don't need to go out and buy a STI shift boot. You could just cut your old 5-speed one and it will work. The other thing that I actually forgot to mention for all the things that I did is I actually swapped over the OEM STI buttons and paired it with the DCCD Pro. So I actually have a working DCCD, which I could show you real quick, which is, if you guys are not familiar, it is all that right there. So if I let off the e-brake, you can see I can actually switch it to auto and manual right there. And also I can adjust just like that. I can go up, I can go down, I can go fully locked, fully open. Pretty cool. Now, of course, that's everything on the inside of the car, but let's actually go to the outside, because another big thing, obviously when you're doing STI drivetrain swap, is the Brembos as well, and obviously the knuckles too. So you can see I got STI Brembos, but I just ended up powder coating them, putting my logo on it, you know what I mean? Front and rear. You can see all that. Obviously the R180 STI rear differential, which is right there. And obviously STI axles and whatnot. I know you guys probably won't believe me, but I swear one of the biggest reasons why I got the STI swap is the gauge sweep. I am so not joking. Anyways, now that we did a little walk around, saw the components that I actually swapped over, now let's actually talk about the drivability of the STI drivetrain versus the 5-speed WRX. There's definitely some key differences, obviously, which we'll get into. Now, probably one of the biggest things that I noticed right away with the STI in comparison to the WRX is how notchy the 6-speed is in comparison to the 5-speed. It just feels so much better in the hand, so much notchier, so much more responsive. It just is what it is. Now, as far as actual drivability of the STI drivetrain goes, you are definitely shifting a lot more. It might just be in my head. I'm pretty convinced it's a real thing. I feel like I'm shifting so much more often with the STI swap in comparison to just the 5-speed. I feel like the 5-speed honestly is a much more dailyable thing. It's much easier to drive, obviously longer gears, being that it is a 5-speed. The STI, like, I'm already in 4th gear, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like I'm shifting all the time, and that's what a lot of people do say, and it really is a real thing. But with that, with the shorter gearing of the STI compared to the 5-speed on the WRX, you feel like you gained a bunch of torque, which honestly you probably did. With the shorter gearing, the acceleration on it is much, much quicker. It's actually so different from the 5-speed, in fact, that I had to get my car a fresh, whole new tune because my car literally didn't know what was going on, and I had to get a retune because it literally was so confused as far as how different the gearing was. My car was acting super, super weird. We couldn't figure it out, and it literally ended up just being that I had to get a new tune because I never tuned it after swapping over all the STI stuff. It's that different. Now let's talk about why I did the STI swap in particular. To be honest, there's so many reasons. I wanted to increase the power of my WRX engine, and I knew that my 5-speed was the weak point. But what's interesting is I know I'm not using the full potential of the STI drivetrain. I'm only pushing about 400 horsepower, and this thing could probably easily handle 500, 600, maybe 700. I'm not even sure. But I've definitely seen people put some ridiculous numbers down, and the STI drivetrain is known to be just ridiculously strong for what it is. Number 2 advantage, if you do the full STI drivetrain swap, including the 5x114 knuckles, you are seriously going to love your life as far as wheel choices go. And obviously you get the Brembos, but 5x114 is literally the standard as far as good wheel choices. It just is what it is. In comparison, obviously, to 5x100, that was such a huge deciding factor that really just sent me over the edge. I ended up finding my dream wheels, those T37s, in obviously a 5x114. It was a perfect spec. I was like, you know what? I'm doing the freaking swap. I want to put these wheels on. And now I got my 5x114, I got my Brembos, and now I can literally choose any wheel I want, the perfect sizes. It just is what it is. 5.114 is superior when it comes to wheel choices. Now, as far as in-town and freeway driving, to be honest, as we know, I don't drive my car all too often. In-town driving, it doesn't really bother me because I don't drive stick shift every single day. Maybe my opinion is a little bit different, but I don't mind rolling through all the gears. Because of the shift feel is so nice on the STI transmission, I honestly don't mind that I have to shift more often. It's not that bad. Now, probably one of the biggest questions of them all. Should you STI swap your WRX, or should you just buy an STI? This is something that I seriously have gone back and forth on so many times. Honestly, it depends on the day that you ask me, if we're being real. Now, as far as price goes, you might be able to save some money if you find a really good deal on an STI in comparison to getting a solid WRX and swapping everything over. It seriously depends on so many different factors. I was looking on Facebook Marketplace today, as far as WRXs go. I found one that was kind of similar to mine. They seem to be a pretty good deal right now. It was about $9,000. And obviously, if you add on the $6,000 swap that I talked about, not including the wheels, obviously, and one of the biggest things is you do the entire swap yourself and you don't pay a shop to do it, which is probably gonna save you another $2 to $3 grand. I'm not even sure what a shop would charge for all that work. You know, STIs for the same year are probably around that, I don't know, 15 grand. So it's so close in comparison. But obviously one of the biggest reasons why I did it is this is what I do, like, technically for a living, right? Like, obviously I like working on cars. I knew it was going to do it myself. I got the opportunity to teach all of you guys when I did the STI swap. So for me, it made sense. Oh my God, what is that? Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. So for me in particular, it made sense. Now, what I say pretty much for everyone, if you are mechanically inclined and you want to do an STI swap in your WRX, I say go for it. Because with that, honestly, there's a little pride in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool to say that you did the full STI swap yourself. Because I know everyone's gonna freaking rag on you. People still do it to me today, say my car's not an STI, which, hey, I say it's not an STI, but it's my STI. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, to myself, I don't think that my car is an STI, you know. But I mean, everything that I look at, every component that I could possibly switch out is obviously STI. But in my opinion, I think it's cool to have a kind of like a little underdog WRX. You know, I'm kind of happy to say that it's a WRX because I feel like it makes me feel like a little underdog. I like that feeling. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it is what it is. With all the information that I gave you guys, now for me, like I said, it was worth it. And to be honest, I think it's worth it for you guys as well. There's so many different combinations of STI swaps, which I think is pretty cool. You can end up, you know, swapping over a cheaper version or a cheaper style. You don't need to get all the things that I got for the STI swap to just have the STI transmission in your car, which is pretty cool. You can go for the JDM non-DCCD one. There's just so much information out there on STI swaps. So yes, I do think it's worth it. I think you guys should go out and try it yourself. There's a bunch of videos on how to STI swap. You could check out my channel on how to STI swap. If you got any questions, leave it in the comments below. Hopefully our community here can answer them if I can't. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure you comment a video idea down in the comment section below if you have a good video idea for me to do. And then if I like the video idea enough, I'll make that video, give you credit in the following video. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Peace out.